How are you doing? Good to see everyone. Hope you are doing well on this Tuesday. Wow, the 12th, 13th of November. Man, going by quick, isn't it not? So, hope you were doing okay. Hope you had a great weekend and welcome. Hello, Brian. How are you doing? Hello, Lois. Good to see you. Hey, Kaz. How are you doing? Great Scott. How are you? OG Bawa. Did I say that right? 27. Peace. How are you doing? Hypnotherapy Pixie. Hello. Tammy, good to see you. Peter, good to see you. Jamma, what's a happening? And eyes to see Paul from Newcastle. Welcome. And Ronnie, good to see you. That's all I see here. Hey, Sarah, how are you? Good to see you. 45 years on the planet today. Well, how about you? Well, congratulations. Listen, you obviously have favor in your life. We look at age the wrong way today. We look at age as something dreadful and, but, what people don't stop and consider, and most of the time youth, is that, well, if you don't make it to old age, guess what? You're dead. So, Charles, good to see you, my friend. Prophecy, end of days. Hello. How the synchronicity there, prophecy. Yeah. Shoots for Pa. Good to see you, my friend. So, by the way, I think, and Brian, tell me if I'm right, Milky Way Weekly, you and Sue, hello, Anna, will be doing a show tonight. And I don't know if it's on your channel or hers, but I saw you make a reference to that. So my iPad automatically opened right when R. Wayne Steiger. It's because I got the power. We got the power. So had a great time. Took off some time with my wife and I, and we did a little investigating on the subject that we're going to be talking about here in a couple of minutes. And we also went and saw Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, get a chance to go see that one. Go see it. Go see it in the Dolby theaters if you have the chance. Good movie. Good movie. Enjoyed it immensely. So, Mystic Mama, how are you? I love that name. And Barbara Chase, good to see you. And Chase Corrington, good to see you. We're going to have Chase back on. And yeah, Paul Ross, good to see you as well. So thank you, Knowledge Seeker. Hi, Brian. Well, I'm just reading there. J.H. Armstrong, how are you? Good to see you. Caroline, good to see you as well. So we are living in, folks, I don't think that there's any part of the human species in all the diversity that we have as our races could argue that we have not entered into something we haven't known before. I want to show you how things are progressing. So we buy honey and we buy it and have buy it. We use it instead of sugar. And so this is what's happening. And I'm not going to show the brand. This way I can actually do it. This is what we have been used to buying for the table and the counter, etc. This is what they are selling it now. And the smaller has a higher price. Yeah. You're seeing it everywhere. And folks, something is going on. Now, you could say, well, maybe it's due to the population explosion. Could be. Maybe we're seeing now the accumulative effect of the bee collapse. Could it be we're also now seeing less and less of the product that we expect Mother Earth to bless and produce each year? Because that is a blatant observation that we all can see. So what's going on? Yeah, Tracy, low honey supply. You folks, Tracy, you spot on, and I'm sure many of you are already catching on what I'm trying to say. We are, and I don't know how to say this, because there is a bright ending to this, but we are on the train wreck already. The train wreck is already happening. It can't be reversed. It can't be stopped. The inertia is so great, and you and I are literally in the middle of this maelstrom. It's here. And by all indications, we haven't seen anything. And 64 ounces are now 59 ounces. Yeah, I mean, it's across the board, everywhere. And the products that aren't are artificial in some manner or form. You know, when it was announced by the FDA, 26 out of the 28 breakfast cereals, including mostly with oatmeal, have all been contaminated. All have GMOs, and all of them have pesticides. So I had the opportunity to do some investigating, and it just so happened, I want to thank Chelsea Rose, by the way, for sending me this book. And, you know, I get a lot of books. You know, I read a lot. Got a couple here that all seem to have this synchronicity to them. So anyway, the book title is Phoenix Rising. It's a story by Mary Summer Rain. And oddly enough, and this is the book, you can get it on Kindle. I'd recommend it for everybody. You should read it. And I got it, I think Friday afternoon. Yeah. Finished it in a record time. Finished this book, I guess, in about 5.5, 6 hours. And rarely do I ever sit down and just absolutely consume a book. This one I did. I think that words carry energy, carry a force. Words spoken and then picked up by another spirit being, they take on life to themselves. And particularly when you find words that are on your frequency, your receptor, they begin to take on different meaning. And this book was interesting. Primarily because it gave validation to a whole lot that I had been asking my spirit guide. And, you know, when I meet my spirit guide on the other side of the veil, I'm going to have to shake his hand, because I'm sure more than once he felt like, yeah, maybe I wasn't his favorite candidate. But nevertheless, you know, persistence, love, forgiveness, keeping that vibration that is above and below that point of what we would call agitation. You know, if the frequency gets too high, it gets agitating. If it gets too low, same thing. And that's what all of us are seeking is to find that frequency that's balanced within us. So, Mary Summer Rain. Now, I happen to know where she lives, or when she did, when she wrote this book. I also happen to know the area of which she speaks about in her visits with No Eyes. And No Eyes is exactly it is. She was an Indian shaman, and she had a vision. Now, this is a remarkable story. So much, just to give you an idea, kind of where you can see here, these are all the notes as I'm writing down. And just to give you an idea, I know now what's causing the increase in the Schumann resonance. I also see a lot more about Earth it is right now as a living spirit. Very interesting how No Eye speaks of a thing called the time courier. And much as I had thought, No Eye spoke to me. And, remember, folks, the spirits are alive. We are in a time, we haven't known of a time like this because we are so disconnected. We think we're connected to the spiritual, but it's only two-dimensional. When we begin to realize that there is so much more intelligence around us, unfortunately, we are not getting smarter, and we'll get into that. I now understand something else. I had suspected this, and if you go back and look at my videos, they were as much saying this. The protectors have left. Yeah. They were the ones who helped intervene on the planet, preventing accidents, catastrophes. Yeah, interesting on that one. No Eyes spoke, and folks, this has been back a while. Before a lot of the technology we have now, but she foresaw it. She foresaw the masses being unable to focus. Serious consequences with this one, folks, and we're seeing it. I don't know if this is so much the age of awakening, if it's the age of questioning. Awakening, I think, is going to be after the age of questioning, and that's where we are. To those who have been spoken to, get to know your spirit guide. We have suspected this, and you see it replete in many different philosophies, ideologies, etc., that you hear it spoken about a tribulating time. Well, actually, that's not as big of a prophecy as you would think. Actually, it's more common sense because of the collective energy now being fed by man. Man's feeding this thing. It's a matter of causality of numbers. We've left the days of where we had additions, multiplications. For tens of thousands of years, things were at a level, and the level of progression was slow, methodical, but sure. Well, that's no longer the case. We have an overpopulation now. of thought. And regrettably, this thought by the species called mankind is predominantly negative. As much as we'd like to all think that we live in, you know, a place where that isn't there. We're about to find out some things about Earth that, yeah, I was shocked. Shocked. I'm reading this and I'm just shaking my head. I told Lynn, I said, I'm shocked. I said, I can't believe this. And she says, what? I said, Cripple Creek. She says, yeah, what about it? I said, it's built in the middle of a volcanic crater. She looked at me and she says, what? I said, yeah, Cripple Creek, volcano, ancient volcano crater. She says, nah, that can't, she says, where are you getting this? I said, let's look it up. So we went to the Great Oracle, paid our homage to the Great Oracle, and asked the Great Oracle the question, and the Great Oracle gave the answer back. Well, sure enough, I did not know this, that the Rocky Mountains actually have a lot of ancient volcanic signs, lots of ancient volcano craters. I didn't know that. So let's get into this. Yeah, Laurie, you're right. Outside the community, it's a whirlwind. So let's just take a look. I put together, as I do, a presentation because I think that this gives us all the opportunity to really check out exactly what's going on. So honor and acknowledgement must be given to No Eyes. Her spirit is eternal. And the great thing about it is that when you remember someone, there is an energy source that goes and it connects to them. They can feel it on the other side. So No Eyes, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom and determination to share even outside your people. Thank you. And much respect to my spirit guide. As I said, if there are promotions on the other side, which I think they are, this dude and gal are both in for one. I got a big raise coming. It's like that bumper sticker I saw in Las Vegas when late 80s. He was at the Tropicana and it says, Jesus loves you because everyone else thinks you're an asshole. So anyway, I digress. So, all right, folks, get this one. If there's one thing that you pick up from this video, all of you that have been wondering what's been going on with the Schumann Resonance, No Eyes reveals. And folks, Earth's been telling us. It's interesting because when you have a prophecy, or let's use another word, a seer that can look into the timeline and not make a prophecy so much, but to simply tell you what they saw in the timeline, I can accept that. Much more than telling me that this is something that some unseen God is throwing down. And in this case, this individual, this shaman, this spiritual woman that obviously she was so far ahead of me. I mean, I only hope to be able to thank her, came and shared knowledge that she saw. And this thing is long enough that as you begin to see the progression of what she saw, whoa, folks. So, bottom line is this: Earth is in birth pangs. Earth is giving birth to the phoenix. Now, this is in their vernacular, but I think it's one that we all can adapt to very easily without debate. The phoenix rises from the ashes. Earth has had enough. Man has poisoned her. Man has given her cancer. Man is burning her. And she is fed up. The earth protectors are no longer protecting. We called them guardian angels. We called them angels that intervened in the moment of extreme crises, that where death could have occurred and miraculously death did not, where there were accidents that surely there should have been a loss of life, but there were miraculously no loss of life and very little injury. This is very recent. They're no longer protecting. They're no longer intervening. That's why we're seeing more and more freakish accidents. Have you been hearing some of the stories of some of the pilots? Things are going on, folks. We're seeing key people, technical skilled trades, blue collar, where the lapses of concentration and memory are now showing up in catastrophic ways. They're no longer intervening. And here's the thing: outside of our little community, our little group, how many even acknowledge their guides? Now, many religions have taken this and turned it into their beliefs, ingrained it into their belief system. We called them, guardian angels. We called them a number of things, but spirit guides is what they are. I read so many of the different religions and different belief systems, and I find it continually mentioned. So it tells me, even in the Hermetic teachings, we all know we have spirit guides attached to us. And so the problem is, if you don't acknowledge them, again, I've been trying to tell people this over and over again. You need to get to know them. They very well may be able to save your life. All right, so let's see what No Eyes spoke about. The Phoenix Chronicles, contractions. These are the economic aspects, the massive blue-collar strikes. Folks, when you start seeing this, well, you make up your own mind. So she said that she saw, in this timeline, the relocation of key factories overseas from the United States. And it was Mary Rain who actually put the computerization. No Eyes didn't really know what the thing was. She just saw it as non-human people in factories. How about this one? This one is very recent. Extended import-export embargoes and taxations. What are we in the midst of right now? A trade war. increased unemployment. Now, this one is interesting because we've seen this one come in and go out like the tide. Right now, we are in an unprecedented time economically. Listen, when you got the Fed chairman saying, I don't understand what's going on, and they're doing everything they can to suppress it. So this one, I put a question mark by. I have no doubt that this is on its way. Allow me to throw in a little antidote, if I may. So we were at the theater, and by the way, the seats, you know, when I was in my 20s, and we actually had drive-ins back then, much more, anyway. But the theaters, the seats were like lawn chairs that just had padding on the bottom. And I mean, they were not made for your butt to be sitting in for 2 hours. Today, oh my goodness. I mean, you've got, ours had complete leather, reclined. I mean, and we were in this, the new Dolby system they put out there. Yeah. So anyway, I digress. I went out, got us some water and something to drink, and I'm paying it. And I told the guy behind the counter, I said, now I was just being jovial. That's how I am. I said, they're going to replace you with a robot. Now, this young man, I guess was 17, maybe 18. He looked at me, and it's odd when they start calling you sir, but hey, you get used to it. He said, sir, it's already in the making. I said, what? He said, they've already told us that this will be all completely automated with a robot that would be going up and down. Let me ask you. Now, he said something that was really interesting. He said, I guess the thing is, I guess I'll have more free time. And I said, do you really need much more free time? And this is what he said. Well, it'll allow me to spend more time on my phone. Apps. All right. Widespread factory shutdowns. Now, we've been told about the steel industry refiring its furnaces, but still, if you do a simple look at the numbers from the Commerce Department, and if you look even at the turn of the new millennium to what factory output and to what we're doing today, that's why we have deficits. That's why we have these unprecedented trade deficits. The United States no longer produces its own goods. Now, companies will tell you, well, it's too expensive. Listen, if you still got wages that are just now going up to $15 an hour, and apparently that's going to cause a catastrophe, well, that's just suppression. The unions, unfortunately, don't have the strength that they once had. The unions that exist today are unfortunately been taken over by radicals. They no longer have the workers' best interest. But this has also been predicted. Not predicted, she saw it. Excessive taxation. Holy crapola. Listen, this is all that I hear from now the incoming House majority. They don't have answers. And why you folks reelected them, I don't know. They didn't have answers when the last time they were in control, and they screwed it up. It's only going to get worse, folks. And this is the answer. Do you know what the governor of New York said? Well, we have just to raise taxes. People just have to understand this is just what it cost. Then you've got the socialist that the people of New York elected, who's got all these handouts and says, when asked, how do you pay for it? Well, I don't know. You just pay for it. Yeah, that's the IQ level, folks. Small business failures. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Insolvency of many banks. We saw this already. 2010, we saw this. It cost the American taxpayer over $9 trillion. Stock market misdealings and decline. Seen this? Going to be seeing it a lot more. Give me it there. Drastic construction decline. You know, I have asked people around the United States, I said, how's your construction industry? Well, it seems to be spotty. We were promised, even in the former administration, this robust building project, the infrastructure going to be rebuilt, rebuild America's highways and byways, and we never saw a thing. But we paid $1.9 trillion for that one. Devaluation of real estate. If you live in a hot market, good for you. But all across America, in the less booming areas, this is only get worse. I can tell you, looking at what the commodities are trading on the futures is where mortgages are concerned. Yeah. Drop in level of manufactured goods. We're seeing this as well. Increase of corporate monopolies and takeover. You know, I find this, the irony doesn't escape me. I'll put it this way. I lived through the 80s, through the stock market crash of 1986, and I saw Congress come in using antitrust laws to break up the monopolies. And what happened? Yeah, it's worse, folks. It's worse. Increase in personal bankruptcies. This is still ongoing. Listen, the Great Depression we never got out of 2009. Started in 2008, actually, right at the end of 2008. And then continued to manifest for the next 3 years. Widespread layoffs, we've seen this. I think we're going to see this increasing. As more automation continues, what are people going to do? That's why I tell people, you should have a trade. You should be learning basic carpentry. You should be learning basic electrical. You should be learning basic plumbing. Folks, hear me on this one. AI works for free. It doesn't have to be fed. It doesn't need health insurance. It doesn't need to deal with the quirkiness of humans. Runaway credit purchases. Folks, this is us. I did a whole video on this, and I'm going to continue to do videos on this. Folks, the United States is broke. We are broke. Do you know how much your dollar, $1 is actually worth? And you don't have to go back all that far. Not even a penny now. Cash, precious metal, is only accepted tender. Well, this is going to be interesting. I remember one of the exercises that we did with the Federal Reserve was just in this particular scenario. The precious metal aspect will be made illegal for any person to be owning any precious metal. It was actually put into the law that was passed under the Affordable Care Act of 2010. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Why? Because you didn't read it. No one read it. A handful of us read it. But 2,874 pages is a lot to read. It was a sweeping takeover. And I don't know about the cash aspect of it because the greenback isn't going to be around much longer. It's just not. All right. Part 2. Emerging natural disasters. Major devastation in California. The last 2 years alone, we've seen widespread human habitat areas wiped off the map. The campfire fire now. I contend that that was geomagnetic, electrical. All the witnesses say that they saw the sparks, something happened, and that's where that fire started. Earthquakes in new areas. We're finding this here. I did a little thing in Colorado, and if you just go back and look in the last 10 years, you're seeing increased seismic activity. And then when you begin to expand it within a 5 to 7 state area, you see the entire region with new earthquakes. Inactive craters become unsettled. Now, NOAA saw a nuclear accident taking place at a storage facility because of an earthquake. Well, I didn't realize this, but the Rocky Mountain Flats is, yeah. You see, NOAA said Earth was going to spew back the poison, the cancer that mankind had put in her. Where do we store all of our nuclear waste? You know, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Thought how we sometimes say, oh, yes, 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 we know that Earth is alive. Yes, 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 yes. Amen, brother. Yes, yes, yes. But yet, when I say to you that the Earth is going to spew that poison back out onto mankind again, well, that sounds absurd. That doesn't happen. That defies the laws of physics. Science would not allow that to happen. Really? So you really don't believe that Earth is a living planet, do you? Well, you know, yeah. Mountains become unstable. This is happening everywhere, folks. The United States, I mean, I went through the list. Doesn't seem to be a country, a continent that is immune. Return of the Dust Bowl. Well, we've certainly seen this happening, folks. When you study to see what the natural aquifers of the North American continent are. Got warning signs all over it. Record-breaking flooding. Around the world, every day I see the stories. The drastic changes taking place in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, being hit with unprecedented hail, meters thick, the desert covered in ice. Tornadoes increase intensity and occasion. We're now seeing tornadoes show up in places on the planet they never saw tornadoes before. Even here in the North American continent, in the United States, what has been traditionally known as Tornado Alley is moving east. And as many of you know, in the Del Mar Peninsula area, many of you up there in the Vermont, New Hampshire area, you're seeing tornadoes that you never saw before. Liquefaction of the soil beneath faults. Folks, we're going to do this tonight with Dr. Albers. There's big changes taking place on the San Andreas Fault. Big changes. And we're seeing this all over the world. The liquefaction of the soil is becoming, we just saw it happen in India. Got video of it. Got to happen, Indonesia, with the tsunami. Yeah. Intensified hurricane devastations. Well, everyone that went through Michael can certainly tell you where the hell did that come from. Set all-time records. And it was so compact. Freaked wind gusts, accidents, soil erosion. Folks, this is one I can testify to. Increased radon levels. Now, this is a radiation. It's a gas. So it's odorless. Here in the Front Range of Colorado, many areas have to have radon mitigation systems in their homes. Rock and mudslides. We see this all the time. Insect infestation. We're seeing new species of insects invading places in America. These are Asian. These are of other places on the planet, and they have no natural enemies. Hello, Virginia. Hello, West Virginia. Hello, Eastern Pennsylvania. I can go in other places, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. I can go into California, Arizona. New invasive species are here. Sinkholes. Yeah. Are you starting to see a pattern here? Rapid temperature inversions. Just talked about it. Noah says that you will see in a day the intensity of the sun scorching, and with an hour, blizzards. Frigid winters, deadly blizzards. I'm telling you, folks, and we're going to show this article tonight. 2 leading scientists are now sounding the alarm. One said and I'll show it tonight, this could happen in a matter of a couple of months. All the data is showing something is going on. Folks, if that Buford gyre breaks loose, I hope you've got cold weather gear all the way down to Florida. Hello, Texas. You saw your first earliest snow ever. Starting to get the picture, folks? Summer storms with intensified hail and lightning all over the planet. Seeping natural gas fires and explosions. Just Google it. Go to the Great Oracle. Underground fires. I always thought it was so interesting when they began to see the hail pits opening up in Saudi Arabia, Iraq. She saw as well widespread surface blazes. I keep on thinking about the fires a year ago up in Canada. Something's going on, folks. Intensified plasma? Major quake of the New Madrid Fault. Southern Illinois, north, or it actually should be, and the entire Mississippi Valley, River Valley area. Now, it's so interesting because you know what? FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, U.S. military operations, all have the plans. They're in place. They're expecting this. There's going to be a lot of people sacrificed. This one really got me. We're seeing the sky, the atmosphere changing all over the world, different colors. Noai says that when the greenish hue begins to show up, the Phoenix days are upon us. She said that pollution levels and radiation levels would be increasing all over, higher in the atmosphere. Yeah. I'm telling you, folks, this woman saw it. I am convinced that she was there in this time courier. She took, Mary Summer Rain with her. They were able to, they're beings of all kinds. It's a tremendous story. And I have no doubt true. Eye searching, transportation accident, plane crashes, all will increase. We will see shipping disasters increase. Listen, when we have U.S. military destroyers colliding with commercial tankers, higher incidence of train derailments and accidents. Listening freak deaths and accidents. She saw an incident at an amusement park. I actually think it already happened. We'll get into the story later because I'm running out of time here. Increase in homicide and suicide. Wow. I've got story after story of this one. Suicide rates among all demographics. Off the charts. Freak household accidents. Folks, all this is happening because our species is becoming dumber. We can't focus. I dare say the boomers, when the boomers are gone, you millennials, it's already begun, and you can't, unless there's a dramatic change. I often found it odd that China is doing everything they can to reverse this. You've got the tech titans who won't send their children to schools that use computers. Disease outbreaks. I have two stories tonight we're going to be covering on this one. They now have this monkey that didn't belong here, that is now in Florida, that is carrying a herpes virus that has all the indications it will, in fact, do a jump. And folks, if this thing jumps, several catastrophic gas explosions. Didn't we see one that poisoned the Gulf of Mexico? Listen, folks, that 250 billion gallons that was leaked out of there, they didn't clean it up. It's on the bottom. Germ warfare, release of incidents. I wrote a book on this one. I happen to know that this one is more true than what most people even want to think about. Brief heaving, discord between nations, grave economic differences. No eye saw, arms escalation. Warring altercations. Terrorism increasing. Undeclared wars. Sound familiar? Clandestine dealings between countries. High-level secrecy of souls being traded, bargained. Does your soul have a price tag on it? Wings flexing, spiritual unrest, and awakening, questioning masses. You see, I don't know if we're in an age of awakening. We may be getting there now, but we have been in an age of questioning. You can't awaken until you start questioning. She said the whole Christian, Islam, the whole religion system of major religions being altered because they become political. This already happened. Government interventions more and more of our rights. She saw the Supreme Court making decisions that will imprison us, stripping all citizens of all due process and inherent and or applied or written rights. Repression from certain religious sects that begin to make deals with governments. We're going to get more of this during the week. This is going to be our template. Increased UFO sightings. Have we seen not the unprecedented levels of disclosure? Interaction with other intelligences. We're living it now. This AI, this computer system, we did not invent this of our own volition. Acceptance of the paranormal, going to be unprecedented off the scale. Acceptance of ongoing spirit and afterlife. A breaking of the matrix of the major religions. More religious sects going to court to force their personal restrictions on the general public. Hello. Seeping radioactive dump sites. Hello, St. Louis, Colorado, Nevada. She saw 2 catastrophic meltdown events. She saw radioactive pollution of all rivers and lakes seeping into the oceans. Now that sounds real familiar, but this is not Fukushima. I think this is something much, much worse. You saw these two catastrophic meltdowns are here in the United States. New York City is going to get hit with a nuke. Just telling you right now. Several major accidents of nuclear missiles, and that spokes of a truck she saw, carriers, and the transportation of radioactive waste. She saw missiles, and then she saw trucks. Seems to be. So, radioactive release causes from geological instability. She saw the talons tensing, the civil war, the civil unrest of the people's revolts and resistance to movements. There's going to be riots, folks, big times. They're going to invoke the draft again. I'm telling you, that's already in the books. It's already planned. Public discovery of cover-ups. Hello, Clinton, Hillary, how are you doing? Yeah, people don't like to hear that, but corruption is corruption. Nuclear exchange. It's going to be brief and it's going to hurt, but it's coming. We're going to stop right there because I can see this. We still got more to go. But I think this is a good spot right for us to kind of break off, and we'll pick this up. No, I tell you what, let's just go ahead and finish it out. So she sees an awareness becoming with people who become awake. She's almost like saying we're like the chosen one. Discontinuance of meat ingestion. And this is going to be, by the way, societal. Construction reform. This is the positive. The sensation of most severe natural disasters. The earth is going to calm back down. Pollution-free energy innovations by way of the Earth's magnetic field. Hello, Tesla. Rise of the Indian nation through widespread adaptation of its ways of natural living and deep philosophy. We're seeing this. So I contend, has the Phoenix awakened? I think it has. So let me stop the share. Oh, I guess I already have, haven't I? I don't even think y'all may have seen that. All right, so there we go. I mean, I don't know how you can not say that this is not taking place. It's a checklist. I'm thinking about actually putting it into a spreadsheet. And I think now we can just start actually keeping the tallies. This is the first time I ever came across something that had solidification to timelines. And I said you can't put a timeline on anything. The timeline is fluid. There can be changes, but there cannot be wholesale avoidance. There is just some things that are going to happen. And this book, as we're going to go through it, we're going to find out. I think we're all going to be better for it. We all love Earth. All of us have gotten this more. I know a lot of people are becoming like myself. It's hard to begin to start eating meat. I'm like, man. And then I think of the vegetables that the Earth used to give us. It's contaminated. She says that the Earth hurts from all this nuclear poison that they've put in to her. It said it's seeping through her circulation system like a cancer. And she's had enough. And she's been giving birth to the Phoenix. And the Phoenix is coming out of the womb. That's why we're seeing the Schumann Resonance at such high peaks. She's giving birth. Now, there's a bright sunshine day at the end of all this, but there is a lot of death going to take place. And we can accept this, we understand that, but we can do our very best to begin to take what she has given us, weigh it, measure it, and if it has foundation, then we should be wise enough to begin to take notice. I appreciate all of you. Join us tonight with Dr. Albers. It's going to be an exciting hour. You and I are in a time unlike any other time. Our species have seen major catastrophes, upheavals. But just by the sheer number of human souls that are here now, more coming in, any catastrophe that would have happened 1,000 years ago, happening today, will have an amplification of consequences just because of the mere mass of people. There's a spiritual component to this. We're seeing it. All of you are seeing it. Yeah. So many of you have been sounding the alarms yourself. Keep sounding the alarm. We'll learn together and then go out and give freely the information that you've received. Give it freely. It'll come back. The universe will supply your needs. Always has. So, folks, I invoke favor upon you this day. I invoked it before I came on here, and I just speak it over all of your lives. Speak favor over others in your lives. Listen, learn to love. I'll share a little insight of what Mary Summer Rain saw with no eyes. When they traveled in the time courier, there are beings all over, folks. Beings that the imagination cannot even begin to conceive. And there are beings that are hurt. And this time courier, it allows love to be transferred. In fact, love envelops you. It produces a rose aurora. Earth will be enraptured in that rose aurora. It's coming. The great thing you and I both can do, you and I can both now transcend to begin to let that rose aurora of loving, healing energy permeate us. And there's good news on the other side, folks. There really is. All right, folks, I've kept you long enough. Hello, Claudette. How you doing? Thank you all. Bless all of you. I mean, listen, we made this mess. The hires are going to help us correct this. But in the bottom line of the equation, in the end, man does correct the error. That's good news for all of us. All right, folks, see you tonight. Be good. Thank you. Hello from Brazil. Angelo, how are you doing, my friend? Flower, thank you all. Y'all are the best. We'll see you later. Give yourselves a hug. That's a good thing to do. All right, folks. Bye-bye. We'll see you